Greetings, everybody. You're not tuned to Points of View. I'm in my lounge because this is the Hidden London Hang-Up of 2022, episode 1. This is a Patreon special. All our wonderful, generous people who give money to the London Transport Museum get a very special service from us. We call it the Hidden London Hang-Up. But sometimes we give you a little taster of what they get a few weeks later. And today is one of those days. We have an amazing opportunity to see a civil engineering project which is going on at the moment and looks incredible, mind-blowing, scary, but also tantalizing. And we're going to go and see it together. No city today. Instead, I've got the wonderful Chris Nix from the London Transport Museum. Greetings.
Well, hello. And yes, I'm sporting my Chicago Elevated Railroads mug, which was kindly given to me by Jennifer over Christmas, one of our Patreons. And yeah, really ready and raring to go on this. Sidney and I managed to get a little trip into the bank extension project underway, and we thought you'd like to see how it's getting on.
Certainly are, certainly are. And Laura Hilton Brown, you're looking beautiful. Happy New Year. You do have as well one of these cushions to come from me, the Christmas gift, which I will give you tomorrow when we're filming on location.
I'm very excited about the cushion, and I have a few little gifts to give to you guys as well, which seems a little bit ridiculous this kind of period of time after Christmas, but Happy New Year to everyone as well. I hope that's not kind of too belated, but good to be back, and I hope everyone had a lovely January so far. I can't believe that it's February next week. My mind is a little bit blown by this, but I'm looking forward to today because, or this evening, I'm just looking how dark it is in the back of your window. It's like midnight or something, isn't it? Because I don't know much about this project. I just know how much it's impacting our Moorgate tour, which are some tours for Hidden London that are coming in the next couple of weeks. So that's really my only experience of it. So I'm eager to learn more.
We're going to learn some really cool stuff, and there is some really, really good footage, videos and photographs as well, all coming your way. The great thing about the Patreon stuff that we do is that there is an active chat that goes along at the side of it that we can't do for Hidden London Hangouts. We can for the Patreon Hang-Ups. So Julian, Ray, Laura, Ian, hello, Roy and Stuart, and oh my goodness, great hairy fool, whoever you are, hello. We'll be meeting you a bit later on. Nick, and there's just loads of chat going on at the moment. And Coral, so nice to hear from you as well. I do hope your travels all around London are going really, really lovely, and we'll find out more about what you've been up to a bit later on. After the hang up, we then open the lines and everyone can speak to us in a live format, which is really quite cool. That is what you pays your money for. So to bank, for years, I've been going to that station and being befuddled by bits of cutting machine in corridors, long escalators that seem to go nowhere, tiny corridors, big corridors, spiral staircases that seem to go into bits of the station that I didn't even know existed. Well, it's all change, isn't it, Chris?
Yes, indeed. Well, Bank, as we've mentioned before on the Hangouts, is undergoing this transformatory process of being extended, and a huge amount of work has been going on behind the scenes. So when you travel through this fairly modest appearing station at the surface, you wouldn't perhaps imagine just how much work is going on beneath your feet and around you in the tunnels. However, you may be aware that the Northern Line is partially closed at the moment around the Bank area between Moorgate and London Bridge to allow this last piece of work for the connections to be made and to all of these new bits of the station to be opened up and connected to the new parts. So to connect to the old parts rather. So here we can see there's a map currently which shows you on the which part of the Northern Line is shut. So north of Oval, you've got this blockade, as they call it, through to Moorgate, and no trains running. And that is while they do this incredible piece of work in the ground. So
I like that. That's really cool.
There, and we'll have a look at this one.
So right, just give us a little bit of a description. The red tunnels on the bottom left, that's Central Line platforms?
Yep.
Okay, and the greyish black ones, they are the Northern Line platforms.
Yep.
But the big point of all of this is, the bit that we've got to get our heads around is the old southbound Northern Line platform is no more, is it? They've made another new southbound platform and shunted it a long way to the side.
That's exactly right. We'll come and have a chat about that a little bit later on to see how they're doing that. This plan shows you, as you say, all of the lines that come into the station. You can see you've got the district and circle lines at Monument, which is counted as Monument Bank. You've got Docklands Light Railway, as you say, down at the bottom, Waterloo and City Line, Northern and Central lines. And the big change is for the capacity upgrade at the Northern Line, and the old southbound is being shut. That platform is being turned into a concourse that you can see in between the tunnels, and we've then got a new southbound tunnel threaded around this.
What I find is fascinating, and you mentioned it when we were talking about another episode, that when you look at stations like this, they are layered almost by age of arrival of each line, aren't they? So
that's exactly right. Yeah. So basically, the last station to arrive, the last line to arrive, rather, has to go underneath the one that came before it. So it's almost like reverse archaeology.
So that's why the DLR is the deepest.
Yeah, that's right. So the DLR is deepest below sea level on the system, if you include it with the tube, which I know will annoy some people, but it's very deep below sea level.
You go so far down on the DLR. You keep going. It's like going into the core of the earth. It's so bizarre. Getting some messages in. Stuart says loves looking at these diagrams. They are fascinating, and we're so lucky to be able to show you them, because obviously some of them have got stuff on there that we're not supposed to show. But this one, nice and pure, just gives you an idea where stuff is. And Andy says those diagrams really show the complexity of civil engineering involved in these projects. It really is so true. Julian says the date of 1992, Transport and Works Act, 1992. So this is like a legal document, is it, Chris?
Yeah, that's right. So you quite often, such things on such scale as this take a long time to plan, to finance, and to construct. So it's not uncommon to find things that are many decades in the planning before they actually happen. And
you might not know this answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Is it the Transport and Works Act of 1992, or did this design start in 1992?
Yeah, so the Works Act allow it to happen. It's done.
I thought that might be the case, but it's good to know. What else have we got?
So you may remember, if you've been watching us for a long time, you might remember way back when we did the King William Street episode at the start of season 2. We talked about this project then, and about how the way that they've been able to do this remarkable keyhole surgery behind the scenes was through going through the old King William Street station. And if we have a look, this is the so-called Arthur Street shaft, because it's on Arthur Street, that blasts straight down through the middle of what was King William Street. That is where all the digging equipment went in, and materials went in, and all of the spoil things being removed from the station came out. Remarkable feat of engineering.
What I think is remarkable about all of this is that, isn't this the one where it actually cuts through the old City and the old City and South London Railway tunnel?
You're right. So I'm stood with my back to the last bit of the old platform at King William Street, and straight ahead where you can see that green light and those ladders, you can just see some orange hi-vi perhaps behind them. If I just try and zoom it a little bit, behind them is the remains of the platforms of King William Street.
Laura, let me bring you in at the moment, because we've had two really cool photographs, right? The first one was the map, and as one of our patrons has just said, the civil engineering, this is Nick, it says the civil engineering is almost artwork in itself. I'm sure you would agree, wouldn't you?
I absolutely agree, and I like both those shots. I know Chris is flicking through a few at the moment to find them, but here we go. So the photograph, Chris, did you take this? This is a great.
I did. Yeah.
And I love the diagram before as well. How can I articulate this? It strikes me as mechanical in terms of, like, like the body as well. So when I had my shoulder operation and they were going through all of the different bones, tendons, veins, and how it all fits together to work, and then the whole joint and the muscle, everything works together. And that diagram reminds me of that everything, those layers and how it all fits together, and then, you know, eventually becomes this working kind of piece of art at the end of the day, because everything has to fit together in the right way at the right time for the whole thing to work. And that diagram just shows how it's all going to start to come together. And then we went to this shot and I was like, well, that's amazing. I mean, Chris, this is such a great shot. It's so sharp and on point.
Thank you.
And they're so different, but I love how it shows the different mechanics of how everything's pulling together to work, if that makes sense.
Totally. Yeah, it's funny. Ray, one of our patrons, says, can we have an MRI scan of the whole of the underground? We could then spin it around in 3D to look at it. I have to say, I would love to see London split through the centre in that way that you could go anywhere and see what it looks like below ground, because it blows my mind what is below our feet. It's fascinated me. It's given me work. It's given me constant entertainment. What we do is we do this, don't we? We cut like a cake. We cut London like a cake and say, here's what you got beneath you. It's so cool.
I think
Can you
it's one of
imagine
those
that?
things.
Sorry.
Go on.
I got very excited about Alex saying that kind of cutaway, if you just took London as a whole. Can you imagine how many layers and how many things would be weaving and working their way? It would be immense. That's actually such a good idea. I'd love to see that.
And what would the deepest thing be? The very deepest thing, the deepest wire, the deepest pipe. What would that be?
And I think you've probably hit the problem there. Many years ago, I went to a forum where people who run and own things that are in the ground were talking about exactly this. And the problem is, whilst people find it very interesting to see it, from a security point of view, it's never going to happen. You just can't let people have access to that 3D spatial awareness of what's in the ground, because it's too useful for hostile reconnaissance, and you'll never get to see it, I'm afraid.
To take the nasty away from the world, and we can do it.
Yeah.
Let's all do that. Let's suck the nasty out of the world, and then we can have a look. What else have we got then, Chris? Are these pictures? Well, I'm eager to get to a video.
Well, the Friday night before the southbound before the Northern Line stopped running through Bank, I went down there and did the obligatory selfie in front of the platform that was going to be closed, and you can see there where they've already broken through from the other side, from the Bank extension works, and they've just got those fireproof doors ready to roll the day after. One of my friends on the Northern Line sent me a photo the following morning where the track was gone and there was just nothing there. Well, I got to go back there.
Sorry, the following morning?
Yeah, but I think it was midday. Say the track was up,
so
and
in a day,
they work fast. Yeah, when it's not just like 3 hours of engineering at night, they can do an awful lot of work, and they've got to get this open for May. Don't forget.
It's astounding that would happen that quickly. I thought it would still look like this.
Well, I was busily sending him photos of me down at London Bridge with the works trains parked up in the platforms there, and he sent me one back going, "Yeah, you should see it at Bank, mate." Cool. Now, I went back 2 weeks later with Siddy to shoot these, and all I can say is it's quite remarkable, the transformation, but we'll get to that. You'll see the difference, so just hold that image in your head of what it looked like when it was running, and you'll see again what it looks like when we went down. But first, let's have a look at the piece of video where we've gone down into the tunnels, and we're stood in the running tunnel to the north of Bank Station in the old southbound tunnel. And 2 weeks later, you can see it's been filled with low density foam concrete.
So that's a plug, basically. They plug the tunnel.
That's a plug, and we'll talk more about that later. But well, here we go. Siddy and I'll
have a little look at this.
Show you what you're looking at.
Butchers.
So you find us here today at the blockade on the Northern Line at Bank, and behind us we have
the old running tunnel. So this is the tunnel that is going to
worked so quickly. The day after the station platform closed, the track was up and they were on with some huge amount of work. And this thing that we have here is literally a blockage. This concrete has been pumped in so that they can do the work of creating the junction between the new tunnel just over there and this old tunnel. So shortly the trains will be able to run through the tunnel behind us there.
Absolutely incredible.
Right, okay, this is nuts. So for a start, when you and I are about 85, we'll be going, so can you see the stalagmites and the stalactites? Because this is a station that used to be a platform, and it used to be effectively doing what we did at Angel a couple of weeks ago, going into tunnels. This is just incredible. We're watching history be made. We're watching series 26 of the Hidden London Hangouts fodder being created.
We really kind of are, and it's exciting to think that there's still disused bits of the underground being created.
I love it. Julian says, how much training are you required to do in order to walk the tracks and do this sort of thing and to get the certificates that we've got, Chris? Just in ballpark terms. Yeah,
it depends on how live, how operationally stood down the track is that we're going onto in the space that we're going into. To go into this area, it just requires, we had to have some site training before we went on there and have the right access card stuff done in advance. But if we're going down onto track, particularly if it's track which is under protection but still considered running railway, that requires a great deal more track training. So it varies.
We are where we are with this. More photographs or another video? What do we think?
Well, I'll just show you this, if I may. If you look here, the black tunnels shown here are the new platforms at Bank once this reopens in May. The one nearest us is the new southbound tunnel, and at the far behind it is the northbound tunnel.
That makes sense.
And then the old southbound tunnel has been turned into a new concourse to increase the capacity of the station and just how many people can wait on the platform.
So we were effectively looking south to the top right. I'm very glad about that. I like to be orientated. But what is really interesting, Law, can you see? I think this is to allow step-free access. There's an enormous lift shaft going in. Is that right, Chris?
It is, and it goes straight from the DLR straight up to surface, and then there's another one which goes up from the northern to the surface, and you can see there's a huge new escalator drive in between the two platforms. And also, if you just look, you see there's a red line with an arrow coming to that central concourse from the central line. Well, that'll be a travelator, and we'll have a look at that bit later. So it's huge improvement.
This is so a bit like the one between the Bakerloo and Northern Line and the Jubilee Line at Waterloo, a massive, great flat travelator.
Yeah.
God, blimey, this is going to be incredible. And look at the amount of space, Law, between the northbound and the southbound platforms, those two black tunnels. I mean, this is massively different to what's there now, isn't it? Because there's only a tiny gap, typical old, original old Northern Line distances, so close together. And this is going to be a completely different offering, isn't it? Law.
It is. I mean, it's so huge, isn't it? And I have very limited knowledge in terms of the scope of projects like this and how it starts, kind of how it's then kind of constructed and how it finishes. We're so lucky to go into some of the spaces at different stages along the project. And I have very limited knowledge in this area, so I don't have any expertise to add. But I just know that it's such an epic project, and anything that is to increase passenger ridership, increase step-free access, reduce waiting times. I mean, how to embark on all of those things in one project is pretty mind-blowing. So, yeah.
I'm sure there are other ones as well. That my other fondness about Bank in its original form is it was the only station that I can remember where it had a sign up saying "Don't pee in the corridors," and that was the one where you used to go down to the DLR off the Northern Line, and it used to say something like, "It's really not very nice to have a wee in the corridor."
I mean, it's bad that you have to tell people that, isn't it?
I know.
That's
I used to think, why is there such an attraction to wee here?
Alex, should we raise the tone and move
No.
on?
Well, yes, I suppose we should. Yeah, go on.
Well, what I'd like to do now is show you the clever stuff that they're doing to connect on these new southbound running tunnels for the trains that they've built to the old ones.
Okay.
It's not an easy process. Okay.
Yep.
So what they've done is they've tunneled all the way up, long time ago, they've tunneled all the way up as close as they could get to the existing Northern Line running tunnel, southbound running tunnel, without getting too close, dangerously close. What they have to do now is carry on tunneling to it and break through. So let's have a look at some of that process. Now, this isn't a great photo. I had to do a screenshot because they didn't have the face looking like this when we were there. But what you've got on the right-hand side is old running tunnel that's been filled with that concrete, and in the foreground you've got the new tunnel that's coming up to it. And what it looked like when we were there was this, because they just resprayed it with stabilizing faceting concrete ready to dig further into it. So you've got this bobbly concrete has just been sprayed on and is setting before the machine comes in and digs again. And you might just be able to see on that face there's a kind of a round shape still cutting into it, which is the old tunnel.
See, it really does blow my mind that we get access to this sort of stuff. I mean, this is effectively like watching open heart surgery and being in the operating theatre, isn't it? It is really bizarre.
Except their surgery tools are things like this. That's a shotcrete spray cannon. How cool is that as a job?
You'd need a lot of anaesthetic for that, wouldn't you?
Can you imagine if you let your kids loose with that, Laura, for the day? They'd have a great
I
time.
dread to think what would happen if even you were let loose with it, Mr. Nix.
Yeah.
There's no way they'd let me loose with it.
Nice one, Ray. Okay, so what else we got? Show me more.
Well,
I love the.
I've got a lovely engineer a project manager who allowed us to go down there, Ian, to tell you about what they're doing. So hopefully with this diagram, it'll make a little bit more sense. It's very loud, I warn you now, because there is all sorts of machinery running when we're down there. But here's Ian to explain that a bit better than I did.
We're standing at the north end of the new southbound running tunnel at Bank. So what you can see ahead of us, you can see that we're cutting through and intersecting the existing tunnel, which is here on that right-hand side, and we're sort of drifting along so to intersect it like a solar eclipse. And at the same time, we've got the northbound tunnel above us. They're double stacked in this area because we've got the Bank of England on our right-hand side, and we've got a large tunnel underneath it. So we're about 22 advances into this drive, and everything's going well.
Blimey.
So what they have to do, this is it at the other end where they're breaking in at the south end, and it's a little bit easier to see because it was clear when we were there. What they have to do is basically dig about 1/2 meter using this huge hydraulic digging machine, and then the clay is starting to flow and try to collapse inside. So they spray it with the concrete, let it go off, and then they dig a bit more through that, and they keep going. So it's kind of dig, spray, dig, spray, dig, spray, and eventually you advance. And on the left-hand side here, you can see very clearly that original City and South London 1924 lining rings, that sort of bluey grey inside it. This is what I had to just run and get, is this low density concrete. So that's a piece that I was allowed to pick up. I got one for each of you.
Oh, right. This makes final sense because I didn't want to look a stupid idiot, right? Okay, I do it often enough in the spirit of this set of Hangouts. But what we're looking at there is that sort of half moon of blue.
That's right.
That is the old City and South London Railway tunnel that they're trying to get this new bit to connect with, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. And so we're stood in what will be the new southbound running tunnel. And when they've got about another 20-30 meters forward, they'll be able to put in that new line coming straight through into where that blue stuff is at the moment. Now,
and it's fairly safe to say as well, sorry to interrupt, the reason that it looks so much smaller is because the original running tunnel for the original Northern Line, the City and South London Railway, was much smaller, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, they did expand them. It's why I was saying they're 1924 ones, because of course this was part of the new line that went around King William Street. Was built in 1900, but then between 1922 and 1924 they were widened
out, so they could become the Northern Line
underground standard. Now to give you an idea as to how rapidly they're working, I don't know if you can actually see it on this photo, but if you look at that pile of blue rubble down on the floor, I'll just try and zoom in. Can you see it's a little bit fuzzy, not quite sharp? The reason was it was still steaming because they were saying the concrete was actually still curing. That foam concrete was still curing effectively. So it's everything is being done as swiftly as possible. Amazing stuff.
Superb. We've 2 more videos, haven't we, to go?
We do. Yeah, I just want to show you this plan quickly before we watch the next one. So on the top left, well, if you look at the top of that plan, you can see the northbound Northern Line and then the old southbound, which will now be a concourse. That photo of me at the start when it was still running is on the top left of that. So just where that orange bit is leading down to the old platform, that's where I was. And we're gonna go there and have a look at it now. When I've been there before, we were able to have great fun just popping up behind those doors and having a look at the station still running in the background. But let's have a look now at what that former southbound platform looks like 2 weeks after closure.
So, a couple of weeks ago, I stood on the edge of this platform when trains were still running through here and took a selfie. Behind me now, you can see the breakthrough has been made. The track is gone, filled in with concrete, platform edge is gone, and I've been joined by a City Holloway.
Hello.
And you've made a little discovery,
Yeah,
City.
look at this. So, all the way across here, these are original City and South London tiles from when this platform opened in 1900. And you can tell because they're glass. We've talked about this in the show before, and they go all the way around. They didn't do that after the 20s. They stopped piling the ceiling. So these are originals being exposed here with the backup.
And here's where we move it into how it will be. We've got these portals through into the platform with the works train in, which has been bringing all the materials in, taking all of the spoil out, and the guys are really cracking on with the work here. It's just incredible, isn't it?
It really is.
If this does not make more people want to be part of Patreon, I will eat my woolly hat from the museum shop. This stuff is just mind-blowing. Look, Law, the tiles, the glass tiles. And what really makes me laugh as well, all these old signs now, right? I mean, they are probably, what, 10, 15 years old. It'd be like, we've got those in the museum. We've had them a while. It's just incredible. We are literally making history happen in front of our very eyes, aren't we, Law?
We do. And I just can't believe how much has happened in 2 weeks from the original selfie picture that Chris took and then that video clip there. You know, for some working down there, 100% understand this. It's a work site. It's a massive civil engineering project, and it's a huge capacity upgrade. But for so many others, ourselves included, it's like this moving timeline of museum history, right? Yeah. So every little section is like a little piece of museum for us to take with us. And so to capture these moments is really, really important. And I think this episode is capturing that so nicely. So yeah, I'm kind of a bit mind blown at the moment from those two scenarios, like how much has happened in that space of time.
It's gorgeous, isn't it? And what I really love about it, you know, we've always said part of the reason why we've always done the Hangouts, us as a group, is because it's got us through lockdown mentally. But the really cool thing about this is that anybody who pays attention to these Hangouts can literally pull apart this station, which on the face of it looked super modern. I mean, Bank had an upgrade in the 90s, didn't it? And all those posh, weird faux marble tiles were put up. But looking at that tile there, that takes it right back to origins in 1900, that sort of area. And we can see how that station has evolved over time because of what we've learned on the Hangouts in the past 3 series or past 4 series.
I think one of the things that we often talk about on the Hangouts is that you can find these layers of archaeology in stations, because when new surfaces are fitted, they're usually just bolted over the top. It's, you know, there's no point in chipping off the old tiles if you don't have to. So it's nice when you get these rare moments before yet another layer goes over the top. You get to see that original base layer one more time. Now we'll have a look at how they're working on fitting out the rest of the platform. But I thought it'd be good to have a look at that travelator bit that we were talking about. So between the Northern Line concourse and the Central Line. So should we go and have a look at that?
Yeah, that's it.
Well, welcome to the new travelators, which are fitted between the Northern and the Central Line at the Bank project.
Yep, it's really amazing. I mean, this is going to ease so much congestion at the station. It's going to mean that people can move so much quicker through the station. I mean, it's really going to enhance it. And who doesn't love a good travelator?
Indeed, and please, when you're using it, do walk on it. Don't just get on and stand still.
But the funny thing is, when people stand on travelators, you move slower than you would if you actually walked normal pace alongside it. So do walk along them, that's what they're here for. But it's cracking what they're doing here, isn't it? It's
going to be such a transformative thing for the Bank station.
And now we're letting everyone start talking again. Thanks, guys!
Bye!
I mean, really, it is... it's blowing my mind to see what has happened so far. I mean, bearing in mind the line only shut a couple of weeks ago, we were still using these platforms, Law. I did just before it shut. I wasn't as quite as Anaraki as Nixie was. We're going on the last day, but certainly within the last closing days, I was fascinated to see what it looked like down there. To see what is now just breaking through a wall. It is like another secret station that was just being beavered away with in the background. It's incredible, Law, isn't it?
It's amazing what's going on beneath the ground, beneath people's feet as they go about their business in London. And, you know, there's a lot more people going back into the city now. Kind of the pandemic is loosening slightly, and kind of more people are traveling and more people are back in the streets. And there's that lovely little bit of vibe and character just kind of oozing back in. And what I like is that's kind of, you know, above ground, just starting to kind of simmer away and get kind of back some vibrancy. There's all this stuff going on underground as well that's just going to enhance and increase the amount of people that can travel, you know, the speed of which and the quantity of people that can travel around London. And it's amazing because you just don't know that's going on underneath your feet, do you? And I particularly like that both Chris and Siddy clearly have a massive bugbear with static riders on travelators.
Oh yeah, totally.
Correct.
Just getting that onto the VT then.
Liam, one of our Patreons, says what we're seeing at the moment, is that one of the original vaulted archways between the platforms? I guess it is, isn't it?
That's absolutely right, yeah.
You can even see the old tile work, look at it.
Yeah, the astonishing thing about this, I mean, look, they've already stripped all the old surface finish off the wall. They've got the unistrut up and they're starting to get ready to put the wall. You can just see next to the right of that archway where they've already got the strut work up to put the new cladding on, ceiling work up. It's just breathtaking.
It's really cool. Andy says, does this project make Bank one of the most updated stations? Yes, I suppose, because it will be so different to anything we had before. If you think about that journey we used to do to get from the Central Line, or, well, the Central Line, sorry, the Northern to the Central was complicated enough. The crazy one was the DLR to the Central Line, where you got two escalators and up and over another line. I don't know which one it was. It was an absolutely crazy chicanery, wasn't it? So this is clearing all the decks, isn't it? This is changing massively, all of it.
It is. It will make it a very much quicker station to enter, exit, and interchange, and that's the key thing. Now, some of these, it's worth saying that some of these things will come along after the Northern Line has reopened and is running through there. So when that reopens in May, I don't believe that the travelators won't be commissioned by then, and the new entrance to the station won't be open then either. But as part of this, ultimately when the project is finished, Bank will have surface level, street level presence. Finally, it will have a ticket hall at street level rather than underground, and we'll have many more entrances and exits with much greater accessibility.
Absolutely love it. It's funny, we were talking about travelators and things like that. I, as a 44-year-old man, I still enjoy having friends who will want to test the speed of the travelator against walking speed. And so we both start off, I'll get on the travelator and walk, and my friend will walk at the side of me, and there's a variety of them. They're all as idiotic as one another. and then we'll start doing the ministry of silly walks. So my walk will get faster and theirs will get faster. And before you know where you are, it looks like something off some Ray Cooney farce. By the time you get to the other end of a travelator, it's joyous. Ray,
It's you I'm trying to get past.
Yeah, I use travelators to have a rest on the journey. Well done, Ray. Good work. Good work. Good. So anything, more photographs, Mr. Nixon? I'm looking at the time. We give them 45 minutes normally. We're coming harshly close to 45.
What I thought you might like to see is this is the end. So this is southern end of the southbound old platform, and you can see there that rail still sat there.
Look at that. Is that the tunnel just sweeping away at the end?
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
It's great, isn't it?
It also, one of the other benefits of this is you can see it's quite a tight curve ahead, can't you?
Yeah.
The new southbound platform will be a lot straighter, so it will actually speed things up slightly going through there, which is awesome.
It's wondrous. And there's something that kind of makes your heart sing looking at these, because we are so privileged to get access to these things. These are work sites, okay? Big stuff's going on here. And we get the chance to put silly orange outfits on and have a wander around with a camera and get excitable on your behalf. So you can have a bit of a warm up of an excitement on a Sunday evening on Patreon. I just love it. I absolutely love it. Are we done there, Mr. Nick?
No, not quite. You might remember. You might remember that back ages ago when we first looked at this, I showed some of the CGI renderings, the computer generated images of what the station would look like with its new cladding. But there is some of it which is getting fairly, far advanced. Right. So here you go. It's a blue. It's a nice deep blue panel color scheme in the new Northern Line areas.
I've tried to mimic how you say the word blue. I can't do it. You have this really good way of saying blue. Like, how do you do that? What
I don't know. Blue is one of my favorite colors, so I do. Maybe I kind of deliberately wrap my my
I
words
think you've
around
kind of accentuated the blue. It's a little Lloyd Grossman-esque sometimes when you do blue. I love it.
This is the new southbound platform being fitted out. You can see it's already got some of its signage up, which is really exciting. So went down there, it's like, oh my goodness, it started. You can actually read it as a platform now.
It's absolutely fabulous. There is on Instagram, if you follow the company that makes the signs, sometimes they cheekily put a photograph or a story out to give you an idea of what they're making at the moment. And I love it. I love it.
And Alex, where are they based?
Isle of Wight.
Right. Yet another road trip to the Isle of Wight.
Yeah, exactly. We would be over there like a shot. I must talk to you, patrons, actually. After this episode, I need to ask you a question as to whether you'd be interested in something very, very sexy that we're thinking about doing. Look, that was wondrous. Loads of lovely comments from the crew. I think the museum should do a Chris Nix Hangouts photo display. That'd be rather good, wouldn't it? Get yourself some copyright on those, Nixie. Thanks for the excellent photos. They're ace, says Stuart, the bus driver. And Nick says, how rapid is this progress? I'm a bit staggered by how they're cracking on with this, but I suppose if they've got to open a whole new bit of station in a couple of months' time, they're going to have to get a weave on. So well done to them. Thank you for letting us in. Nixie, thank you to you and gorgeous Siddy. No, she can't be with us tonight, but thank you so much, Siddy, for going down our behalf and having a bit of butchers up round there.
Yeah, well, it's just brilliant to have been given this privileged access. Thanks so much to Ian, who is just an astonishing project manager and so keen to share what they're very rightly proud of. So yeah, it was a no-brainer. We had to share this with everybody, having been given the privilege.
Was he the cameraman too?
No, he wasn't. Ian was the gentleman that you saw being interviewed.
Yeah, I didn't know if he did the 3, 2, 1.
I love it. It's absolutely marvelous. And Laura, as always, thank you so much, darling. I almost can't wait for you to interpret the design when there's more of it up. I'm sure we'll revisit this before Bank Station. I can almost envisage 2 more episodes on this as the progress goes on. And I can't wait for you to interpret art and design in the way you do, which is, I mean, my mind's blown every time you speak.
Oh, it's super speedy process, isn't it? I just still can't believe about the 2 shots that Chris showed us and that 2-week section of time in between. And I think I didn't know much at the beginning of this episode, but what a learning curve. So thank you, Chris, for all of those diagrams, and Alex for expertly talking through it, because I feel like I understand it a lot better now. So I'm super excited to see where it goes, and for episode 2 and 3 if they exist. So yeah, all good.
We're going to get you down there, Laura, don't worry.
To be fair, I just want to wear all of that PPE, because it didn't look like you didn't have anything not on there. Gloves and the glasses and the hard hats, everything.
Great in orange. We're going to look great in orange. Now, what you've seen tonight as a Hidden London Hangout is Patreon perfect fodder. And this is what the guys give so generously to the museum in order to see well first. And sometimes it's exclusive stuff that we would never dream of putting out there to the public for a lot of reasons, actually. If you're interested in being part of the Patreon program, go to the LT Museum website and the details are on there against Hidden London, okay? So have a fertile around and you will find out all you need to know about Patreon. It operates in tiers, doesn't it, Chris? Depending on how much you can afford and what you want to get out of it. This is top tier stuff, isn't it? Absolute top tier stuff.
It is, and because it's so good, actually we've recorded this with our top tier patrons here watching with us while we do it and seeing how it really is when we do these recordings.
It's cool, and we're so grateful to you. If you're watching this live now, thank you so much for everything you do for the museum. You keep the good work going. And if you're watching it subsequently and you think to yourself, I want a bit of that, all you got to do is go to the website, find out how to get on board with Patreon. It is well worth the money. No notes, queries and questions, no point in doing all that. I think we have exhausted you with the visual delights that we've given you. So from Laura and Chris and from me, have yourself a great day and stay safe.